right, guys, welcome to the Alberto Crane Show. We don't have a guest today, and Kevin and I got a little coffee downstairs, and it was like, you know what, let's just go upstairs and talk. So here we are, and something that's been coming up this week is like, what's more important, your health or your wealth, right? And I was asking people, and then we did a little reel yesterday talking about it, and it was interesting to hear people's perspectives. Most people said your health, right? Because if you don't have your health, like what does the wealth mean? It doesn't mean anything, right? But it's funny, like I look at myself and I work hard and I stay up late or get up early and and I do all these things where it's not good for my health, but yet I'm chasing, it's not so much the wealth, but just the work, and of course part of that is making money and things like that. But you sacrifice all that for your health, and man, is it really worth it? Is it really worth it? And so, of course, it's not. It's never worth it. But we kind of sacrifice a lot of things, for our families, and if you have kids, your kids, and different things, right? And so it was interesting to kind of hear people's perspective. Like everybody knows that it's more important, but then what keeps you straight, And I think for me, it's like jiu-jitsu was never about the money. It was never about making, definitely not becoming rich, but I did it because I believe in it. I believe in it for, people. It changed people's lives. It's changed my life. It's made my life so much better. And talk about richness, just the relationships that I have from jiu-jitsu, from doing it all these years. Like all my best friends, 30 years plus, right? They're from jiu-jitsu, from this, from the fighting, from the combat sports. There's a bond that's built that there's nothing like it, even at the highest levels to like whatever, like local tournaments, and just the training, right? Just that bonding that you do when you train with somebody else, and you put yourself out there, you tap them out, they tap you out, and you challenge yourself, right? So yeah, man, it's just interesting to kind of hear people's perspective, and they all know that health is more important than wealth. We all kind of sacrifice things. So I guess this is something to think about. And it's easier said than done, right? Because when you focus on something, you can go on, you lose track, right? What's important, And I definitely have that we've had that same issue, taking care of your health, eating right, like you're stressed or whatever. But it's something to remember, have that in the back of your head and be like, you know what, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. And I think a lot as people get older too, I've talked to friends that, they're attorneys and different aspects, and they're like, you know what, that client is not worth it. So they pick and choose their clients and the people they want to work with because it's not worth the headache, that money or whatever, it's not worth the headache. And they'd rather make less money, right, than have to deal or have that be stressful in their lives, So I don't know. It's interesting, because I think as you get older, you get more wiser, and with that wisdom becomes, you choose what is easier and less stressful, because it's not worth it. What's the other thing we talked about? We talked about like, what do you fight for? And there was I think maybe like 5-6 years ago, me and some of the guys were talking, and like what do you fight for? And then later on, like I think Reebok came out with like a campaign. It was like, what do you fight for? I was like, oh, okay, yeah, we were on the right track, because like everybody, you compete, you fight, like even with TacFit, me being involved with TacFit, and I feel like it's a martial art with yourself, and you really push your limits, and you push your, depending on the level of the testing and stuff that you do, the certifications. And it's really interesting to hear people's thoughts on like, yeah, I'm doing this for my grandfather or my whatever, this person, maybe they're going through something, And I think we all have those thoughts, those feelings. And, when you go into like deep waters and you're going through hard times, you definitely you tap into the people that really matter to you, and you want to do good for them, whether it be a grandparent or like a friend or a coach. So, it's something to really think about, like what your why, right? And it's usually for people, that are important to you, that have helped you. So whether it be your parents or your grandparents or like I said, a friend or a coach, and yeah, I had one of my cousins. She was like super, super smart, and she like was a journalist. She worked for the Wall Street Journal. She's like, you know what? I don't want to do this. She published, did a bunch of stuff, high level things, and she's like, I don't want to do this. And she became a counselor, a counselor, and she loved it because she got to help people. She got to guide people in the right direction. And she always said something to me that I never forgot. And she was like, like a coach, like an uncle, like it's usually not like the parent, unfortunately, but it's usually like an uncle or a coach or a teacher or somebody like that one person can influence somebody going one way, a kid going one way or the other way, Like I say kid, but it's also adults, right? Going one way or the other way. And so, we try to talk to like our coaches and our staff and our black belts, our professors, that like every class counts. Every class counts. Like, like don't take it for granted. And same thing for me. Like this could be somebody's last class because you didn't give your all, because you didn't do your best. This could be somebody's last class. And so, yeah, give everything you got every single day, even if you don't feel like it, even if you're tired, even if you don't feel good. You got to give your all because it really, really matters. And you want to make a difference. Like these are the times, these are the moments that count, And so once you tie that belt on, if it's a gi class, right? Or even no gi, right? With the kids, we put our belts on. But once you put that belt on, like it's showtime, and it doesn't matter what happened, what's going on, how you feel. Like you got to give everything you have because people sacrifice a lot to get to class, and they made that move. They took that action to show up to the gym, to join, to show up, to come, parents bringing their kids. And so it's our job to give everything we have, every single class. And nobody's perfect. I've had days, but like, man, like when we start the class, when we get out there, there's no excuses. There's nothing else matters. Nothing is more important, than giving your all. And I think that's part of like legacies, like what we do, like I said, nobody's perfect, and we try to adjust. We're always trying to improve and make things better, but yeah, every class counts, every kind of night, every moment does count, but like every class, cause it could be somebody's last class, and also people showing up to the gym, to the school, like sometimes, they come in and how we treat them, when they come in, how we, make them feel welcome. It's so important, like walking across the room and greeting them and welcoming them into the gym is so important, and I think that's one of the things that makes us special too. Like we give our all from our people that work in the office to the staff to the coaches. If they see somebody standing around like they don't know what's going on or they're new, everybody walks up right away and takes care of them and makes them feel part of the school, the community, the gym. So I'm really proud of that. And man, went to this last weekend. I just got back, like literally, it was like 2 weeks before that. We went to my daughter's national duels in Indiana, and it was like, after like 3 days of all, she had 14 matches. Like my hand was shaking from all the nerves, and then we went to the Fargo Nationals this last weekend. We just got back like yesterday, and she just got back because United, for some reason, all their flights are delayed, and then when their flights are delayed, you miss the connection, especially to like smaller airports, like from our way over there, and then on the way back, we actually had to go. Our flight out of Burbank was delayed. We ended up waiting all around all day in Denver to get our flight at night, and then we had to get off of our flight once we were on the flight to make room for for the flight to take off. So we stayed in their hotel just so the kids could go on to their tournament. Anyways, it's like a headache, and then sure enough, last night my daughter was coming in because she came with the team, the Team California, her group. And sure enough, their flight got delayed, and then they missed their connection. And then they had to basically barely got on a flight like at midnight. and arrived around 2 in the morning. Like all the coaches of her group were just wrecked, because actually half of the group on the way over there, they had to actually fly into Minneapolis, which is like, I think like 3-4 hours away. They arrived like at, I don't know, like 1 in the morning, and they had to drive like all night to the tournament. And yeah, they had to get a car and then drive like 4 hours, and they got in like 6, 7 in the morning, like an all-nighter. I saw, I woke up last night and drove. I set my alarm, slept for a couple hours, and then went and drove down there. And oh my God, the coaches were just wrecked. Like their faces all swollen. Just like talk about stress. Much respect to the team California. Those guys, like they give their all to support these kids. Their dreams and bringing out the best. And I really appreciate them. And especially like shout out to Mike Duran and our little crew that went out with our squad. But he stayed with, like, my daughter's last night. She was saying how he stayed calm. Talk about stress, like dealing with all these girls is, because they're underage, so they have to like sometimes go and fix and call the airline or call the parent, and it's like a disaster. And he stayed calm under pressure the whole time. So much respect, and he's been doing it for a lot of years. And he's been helping Northview, the wrestling, the high school, and the Titan Mercury, and then of course Team California. So I appreciate him helping my daughter out, coaching her on the sidelines, and then of course this weekend, really means a lot. Means a lot. Him, and then of course the whole Team California. So I'm really excited to see her progression. She went against the best of the best this weekend, and she's only been, she did her first match in December of 2023. So what is that? 1 year and 8 months, she's been wrestling, of course she's been doing jiu-jitsu since she was little, and shout out to our legacy coaches and professors who have mentored her, over the years. It's, I want to give credit to, of course, she has good, her body awareness, and she's an super athlete, but shout out to all our jiu-jitsu coaches, because it has made that difference. She understands routine, she understands training, she understands, being tough. And she started competing when she was like 11, 12 in jiu-jitsu, so it's really, really amazing to see the progression, because especially for like the girls divisions, when they get, like become like teenagers, it's less and less girls, especially at the higher levels. Like, and yellow belt is cool. Then orange belt is definitely thinned out big time. And then green belt was like, it was like, her and 2 other girls, And so it's been really nice. When she started wrestling in high school, we went to the first like CIF tournament. So they separate the girls and the boys. And for California, there's like 3 levels, depending on the section of where you're at, But for her section, we went to the CIF tournament. So it's like the top 2, 3 of her league, go to the CIF. And that CIF was an arena filled with girls. I'd never seen that before. It was like an arena filled with girls. I was like, wow, that's a sport, And so it was really exciting. She's been, like the same kind of girls, like 4 or 5, even less, right? At these high level tournaments. And then all of a sudden there's a bracket of 64, or like this weekend, 128 girls, right, in her division. So it's exciting. It's really cool, because talk about athletic development. It's there's nothing like that, like your body awareness, your knowing where to go, knowing how to compete, being tough, learning with losses, learning with wins, staying humble, right? And really proud to have her do what she's doing, and she definitely chose this path, She loves competing, so she competed like crazy in jiu-jitsu, and then found wrestling in high school. Shout out to Hoover High and Coach M for starting her in introducing her to and getting her excited, in the school for wrestling, and of course Astamir for really kind of getting her to love wrestling even before, a couple years before. She, we had a no-gi class, and there was a lot of wrestling in there. To these guys, to get them excited, and she had a great year this last year, and I'm excited to build on it, and excited where she's gonna go. my daughter too. She's back in jiu-jitsu. My other daughter, Sona, she's in did jiu-jitsu again this week, and she's been busy with the track. And well, I'm excited for Sarah to do some jiu-jitsu and maybe some Muay Thai this month, because she doesn't really have. So it's like a little break, for her to kind of switch it up and, do something different, and but still move and stay in shape, right? But not like kind of do the same thing like that she's been doing, I think it's important to stay in shape, but maybe switch it up, right? Because we need like newness, right? Like the brain needs, like I always talk about that I forgot her name, that went around talking to all the universities, but our brain needs 5 things, to be good. Nutrition, which is like water, food, air, right? Connection, right? So like love, newness, the challenge, and movement, and so, man, keep going, whatever we do as we get older, like those are the things that keep our brain on point, nutrition, eating well, movement, right? Moving, you got to move. If not, your body gets sick, and it's like water that doesn't move, right? In a pond, it kind of starts to go bad, right? It starts to rot. And so if we don't move, we get sick, right? And so whatever it is, like just move. Things hurt, just move. You'll get the rust off eventually. Stay out of pain. There's ways to do around it. You go into the range of motion, but don't stop, right? And then challenge, right? Like that's what I love about jiu-jitsu and martial arts. It's like you're always going to be challenged, like no matter what, whether it's learning a technique, how to throw a perfect strike, or if you're sparring or whatever. You don't need to spar every time, but just the learning part is challenging, right? Learning complex movements, right? But that's what I love about martial arts. It's like it's never ending, right? You're always challenged, and then there's always something new. It never ends. Whether like some kid is, hey, have you seen this? No, I haven't. Wow, that's amazing. Or there's always new stuff at tournaments or in the scene that you're like, oh man, that's great, or perfecting something better, and so it's never ending, right? And I think that's beautiful, and you're moving, right? And the last thing is that the connection, the love, right? Which our brain needs, and or who we are, right? Our being needs, right? And the camaraderie, the friendships, like I said at the beginning, like the jiu-jitsu, what jiu-jitsu has given me are like the relationships, the friendships, for life. And man, you can't, that's wealth, right? That's real wealth. And that's something you can't pay for. You can't buy, right? Friendships, real friendships, and these lifelong relationships. And that's what I wish for all of our students, all of our guys, like real relationships that, like you can look back on and continue on, right? For the rest of your life, hopefully when you're older and you're still homies, you're still good, with all the people. You can, not all the people, but a lot of the people, some of the people, not all, because things change, right? Things change in life, and sometimes it doesn't work out, but it's okay. But you still have these relationships, and I think it's important to foster those. Like there was like a statistic of like having like these long-term relationships, how important it is for our well-being. I forgot the statistic we talked about on one of the podcasts this last week. And how important it is, and it should be one of the things that it should be like, talk about wellness, that we focus on, right? And having these long-term like relationships with people, because people, we go to school, we go to work, you move, right? And things change, right? And you lose relationship, you lose contact with people. But the beautiful thing with coming to like a martial arts school, hopefully in your neighborhood, or just maybe you move, but you still stay connected because of the martial art. Maybe you go to tournaments, for example, like the Master Worlds now, but even the Worlds, right? Where you see all your old friends, right? From all different parts of the world, people you've known for 30 years, and you guys reconnect. It's like a reunion, at the tournaments, and catch up and see how they're doing. Of course, we have social media, but it's different than seeing somebody in the flesh. That's why I love doing our podcast in person, because it's different. I'm doing this, I'm talking to myself, but I have Kevin here, so I look at him and I feed off of that, and I feed off of all of our students, every day. Like I want to do my best for you guys. I want to make you guys proud. I want to do good for you guys. And so, yeah, I think for me, like it's all about the relationships and the students. That's what motivates me, is seeing you guys get good, seeing you guys reach your potential, like being good, being good, and pushing, doing our best, and it's kind of crazy because this year I applied for my 6th degree. I'm eligible for my 6th degree. I'm a black belt, so that means I'll have been a black belt for 24 years. 24 years I've been a black belt, and next one is the coral belt, which is crazy, right? In 7 years, so that'll be 31 years. But 24 years as a black belt, and now I've had the privilege of seeing our kids or teenagers have their own kids now, right? And bring their kids in, and then of course guys that started later in life. Some people have passed away, just from different things, right? From sicknesses, from age, right? And it's what a privilege it is to be able to do the work that I do, and I don't take it for granted. I love what I do every single day. I'm excited to come in, to see everybody's growth, to see them pushing themselves. And so it's been such a privilege, after all these years, and seeing different phases of my life too, right? I started my gym when I was 23 years old, so things have definitely shifted over the years. And I remember when I first moved to LA in 2007, I wasn't sure if I was going to do another gym. I had my gym in New Mexico, and then we did a second location, and we did really well. And then I was like, okay, I'm starting over in LA. I don't know if I really want to start over, because it's so much work, to start from the ground level. And really grateful because I was training at a Muay Thai gym, the City Tong. Shout out to Walter, and he asked me to teach a class like one time a week, like a random time, like 10 a.m. in the morning, and it filled up. And then we did a second class, 10 a.m. and it filled up, and then we did a third class. And so I loved it. I did it for free. I think we did it for like 6 to 8 months, something like that. And we had a solid group, like Akko and like Orlando Sanchez, rest in peace. He was in that group, ADCC Hall of Famer, and just a really solid group. And I took the guys. There was like maybe 6 guys, and I think 5 guys got first place. And I was like, you know what, I have to do this again. I have to do another gym because it was so rewarding, and I'm good at it. So I was like, why would I not do something that's good for me, good for the people I help, And so here we started again in 2000. I was still doing privates and stuff in 2008, but I was fighting. I was like, what do I want to do if anything's possible? And I was like, I want to fight in the UFC. I want to do this MMA thing because I felt like I stopped it short. And so I did that. And then I had one son, and then we had twins. I was like, you know what, I need to go back home, and I can't be, putting all that time into training or being away from home, And so one of my private students is like wanted to help me out, and so we started a school together in Encino. It was the first Legacy. It was halfway between his house in Calabasas and then here I live in Glendale, so Burbank. So it was halfway in between. So we agreed on that, and we started the school. We started the school, and I think maybe like a year later, I was doing most of my training in Pasadena at the City Tong, the Muay Thai gym there. And I think now it's in a little bit more east, Monrovia, I think. And I was lifting weights at the Gold's Gym there. Anyway, so one thing led to another, and we found the same location where Legacy Pasadena is now. Anyway, it's got me back, got me back from just what it did for people and what I'm good at, what I love to do, my passion. So it really showed me my passion, and then we've just been growing ever since, opened up. Then I switched it to Gracie Baja, right? Master Carlos Gracie Jr. asked me to be part of the franchise because they were doing a franchise. I was their first American, black belt. And of course, I wasn't going to say no if the master asks me. And so we did that, and then 5 years. It's like a 5 year contract. So I did the 5 years, and then like it didn't work out, or like I think people were complaining because they always allowed me to kind of walk the line and do my own thing, and and not do my own thing, but kind of do what I thought was best, And I wasn't so strict on the kimonos, like everybody wearing a Gracie Baja kimono. I just wanted people to train, and so I think a lot of people kind of, not a lot, but the people that were maybe in this area were complaining, and so one thing led to another, but it was for the best, Jacqueline told me, he's like, our relationship is going to change, just don't join a big team, and that was it, I just called my wife, and she was super happy, and so we moved back to Legacy, It was 2008, 9, and then we back to Legacy, and then I had opened up 6 Gracie Ball gyms, back in whenever that was, 2011-ish, 12, and then I realized, because I had to like fire people, you have these like amazing relationships that you work with, and then had to fire people because it was so spread thin that, before I saw what they were doing, I had gone too far, so I had to like fire them, and I was mainly in the office. I wasn't on the mat, and I was like, you know what, I'd rather do something else with my life if this is how it's gonna be. I want to be more on the mat, and for me, it's all about the relationships, and it made me realize it's all about the relationships. And so I'm just rambling on, just talking, but kind of made me realize what's important, For me, it's the relationships and seeing people's growth. And so I got out of all of those schools until I was only in Burbank, and I think maybe it was like 2012, something like that, 2013, and then we just kept growing. We had 1 space, then 2 spaces, then 3 spaces in the same spot. Doing the podcast now, and man, we have an amazing team. We have so many black belts, like I have over 100 black belts, but here we have so many black belts. It's amazing. Like our community is so strong, and so it was only natural. I was trying to hold back, and then the landlord of the Pasadena, speaking of the Pasadena gym, came knocking on my door. And was like, "Hey, would you be interested in the location?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "Oh, they haven't paid the rent, because I had sold the gym to Orlando Sanchez and his brother, and they hadn't paid the rent." It was like after the pandemic time, or a little bit after pandemic time. And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And I went to go talk to him. I was like, no. And then I went to go talk to him. I thought maybe for like 10 minutes, because he's right down the street. He's like a few blocks. And I ended up talking to him for like, I don't know, a few hours. And I was like, oh man, I have to go back. He's like this karate legend. That school had only ever been a martial arts school. And I think he fought Chuck Norris. It's funny because there's all these Chuck Norris memes, right? And he beat Chuck Norris every time he fought him. He's like legit. And so I talked to him for a couple hours, and I was like, all right, I have to go back to my wife, and she wasn't happy about it, but we did it. We opened up Legacy Pasadena again, and of course we have the Legacy Glendale with Professor George started it, and the pandemic happened, and a lot of things happened, right? And Professor Anthony went in there, and then Ariel with Malibu now, and Professor Mark. Then it was called Clube. He's my student from 25 years ago, back in New Mexico days. He would drive up from Albuquerque to Santa Fe to come train with me, and I got some stem cells with the director, the organizer of ADCC, Mo. So he gave me some tickets, and he's like, "Oh man, you gotta come. I was like, "All right." He's like, we're putting everything in there. And sure enough, they had the Pride announcer, they had the UFC Bruce Buffer, UFC announcer, they had everything, all the bells and whistles, fireworks and everything. And I'm glad I went, Hall of Fame. And so I brought Professor Mark, Lexi West Adams, and Ricky, because they were very close guys together, And I think there was some just hurt, like because like they had their school and like Hollywood, and didn't work out, whatever. And anyway, just happy to have. I over breakfast I brought it up with Mark. I was like, why is it Clube? Why isn't I think it should be Legacy. Think about, I don't know. I just thinking about it, because we're a team, we're a squad. Like if he needs anything, I'm there in a heartbeat. Same thing with him. We're on the same page. We're like, with everything, and he's super loyal. I'm super loyal, and so he calls me up. I think a couple weeks after, he's like, "Hey, I was thinking about it." I had to talk to my partner Lulu, and sure enough, he's like, "Man, I want to switch over to Legacy and or switch, make it. I want to make my gym Legacy." And so that's Legacy West Adams, right by USC, doing an amazing job. He's an amazing coach, amazing technician. Lulu, champion. And the crew that they have there, it's awesome because full circle, Josiah's over there now too, my jiu-jitsu son from way back when, So it's really cool. It's really cool. Our family's growing, and Ariel was his long time student of his, and so legacy family's growing and growing in the right way, and of course one of my best friends in my life, Edson, Professor Edson George, opened up with his family, with his daughter and her fiance, Legacy San Diego this last year, and we went to the grand opening, and yeah, it's awesome, man. It's I'm not planning anything. I'm just coming from the heart, trying to help people and trying to keep our values right intact and continue the things that help me to others. I was really lucky. I have a really great family. My mom was a teacher for all her life. Her mom was a teacher for all her life. She made she made so many differences in lives, like including my dad. My dad is like, I wouldn't have made it if it wasn't for your grandmother. So just caring about people, helping them. Like both my grandparents were on the board of education in New Mexico back in the day, and so they helped a lot of people. And I think it's in my spirit, to continue their legacy and what they did, and it's who I am, and so I think it's more than just me being me, but I think it's like something in my DNA that it's like a strong drive. I want to help people. I want to help my community. I want to help people reach their best, be their best, and yeah, it's been a beautiful journey. The best is yet to come. I'm really excited. I love our legacy family. Looking forward to all our growth and everybody's growth, as well as TACFIT. I want to talk about TACFIT. TACFIT, man, it changed my life. It gave me like a second chance, at really doing jiu-jitsu. I was, my mobility, I had so many health issues, and I was diagnosed with MS in 2012. They treated me like my life was over, and TACFIT gave everything back, and it's allowed me to help so many of our students. Our black belts, our students. They have shoulder pain, and they go to the doctor, and they ask them, they tell them they have to get surgery, and then actually I'm like, let me see, and I have tools to help them because of TACFIT. And so it's great because we have that a part of our gym, part of Legacy. And I want to see that grow. They I just went to Equinox with my son because I wanted to. It's been a minute. They have one up in my house. I wanted to just check it out. But they were interested in applying because they work with some of the best systems out there, right? And so they reached out to TACFIT. So I wanted to kind of get a vibe check of Equinox and how they do things and how it is, And yeah, I believe in the potential. Just like it reminded me of jiu-jitsu back in the day in the 90s. I loved jiu-jitsu. I didn't see how I was gonna ever make a living from it, but I did it because I loved it. I loved competing. And sure enough, like the UFC blew up, and now everybody knows. Well, they know the UFC because it's a mainstream sport, but also because of UFC, they know jiu-jitsu. And most people want to do jiu-jitsu. It's a beautiful way of life. Lifestyle, right? Even like my daughter does the wrestling, so I'm in the wrestling world too. But like wrestling is like kind of a shorter time, but jiu-jitsu you can do for at any age, and so it's much bigger. And I was looking at the YouTubes of flow grappling and flow wrestling, and I'm like, man, flow grappling, jiu-jitsu is bigger, because it's not that old, right? Wrestling's been around for a long time. So anyway, it's interesting. I don't know. It's all one like big thing. I almost don't want to differentiate between, the different things, but it's, like it's about knowledge, right? And learning. For example, back in the day, nobody knew what jiu-jitsu was. In the early UFCs, we have Hoist Gracie, right, on a painting of him, and nobody knew what jiu-jitsu was. And now, most people, especially, guys who they're going to fight in the UFC, everyone knows what jiu-jitsu is. You have to study it, it's one of the things you have to study. And so back in the day it was about which was the best martial art, right? and now it's evolved, right? You have to be good at everything, and it's kind of the most athletic guy, but also can put it together the best, right? But the same thing is happening in grappling and jiu-jitsu. You have to be well-rounded. You have to have your takedowns, your judo, wrestling, and then your submission game. You know, like so that's it. That's the evolution of everything, right? You always have to be studying, improving, getting better. And so it's cool to see that, see the evolution and the wrestling joining jiu-jitsu joining wrestling, and it all intersecting and coming together. That's the right way. Like, just like ADCC, the original intent, right, of ADCC, the Sheik was like, he wanted to see which was the best grappling art. So he pitted jiu-jitsu versus sambo versus jiu-jitsu, whatever, the sambo, jiu-jitsu, judo, wrestling, right, to see who were the best, which was the best style, right? And it was interesting, right, back in those days. But the jiu-jitsu and the rule set was kind of like built like that a little bit. And now everything's merging, right? There's no one versus the other, just like UFC. Everything, you have to learn everything, you have to do everything. And I think hopefully that's all of our staff. We're always chasing that. We're always on that. We're always learning. And this year is 25 years of legacy. This year is 25 years. I started the gym in 2000 after coming back from Brazil, chasing, wanting to be the best in the world, and I came back in the beginning of 2000, started my gym. And man, but 25 years is it's flown by so fast. I can't believe that it's already been that. But just grateful for just the opportunity to serve, to help our community, to be a part. Honestly, just to be a part. I'm just so grateful. It's going back to the health and wealth thing. It's given me so much wealth, spiritually, of course, physically, in every aspect, and I think that's real wealth. That's the play, the real like wealth is like the health of the relationships, of staying healthy, moving, staying in shape, your lifestyle, how you eat, all those things, and that's the real wealth, So I don't think is it health or wealth? I think it's merging those things, just like grappling and MMA. Everything has to come together, and we're more aware of the things that we need to do to be better, right? And hopefully we teach some of those things here on the mat and in our gym here at Legacy. But I'm excited to. Some people are scared about AI and these different things, but I love it. It's going to make our life better, and I think the best is yet to come. I'm very positive on the future. It's going to be different, just like 100 years ago with the light bulb, right? Like, people were nervous about the light bulb. Well, it's this, it's that, But I think it's going to help us. It's going to help humanity, and I do believe that the universe and we're born to win. God wanted us to win. The universe is on our side. So thank you guys for listening to my ramble. I guess I can keep going if I look at Kevin, because we chit chat and we talk about life and philosophize, and some of the black belts and some of the close students. We're always talking like this on the mat. So it's kind of cool to just ramble on everything and nothing at the same time. And so thank you guys for being a part of the show. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for being a part of my life and our community. Here, of course, mainly locally, but also around the world, our affiliates and our friends, our family, our Legacy and TACFIT family. Love you guys. Thank you guys. And see you guys soon.